Welcome to 818, a place where the lines between science, myth, and the cold mechanics of the universe begin to blur. Here we sift through the forgotten files, the impossible anomalies, the whispers from the dark corners of our sky that most people never hear, or refuse to. Tonight's transmission is not a story. It's a warning layered in history, wrapped in mathematics and carried by the long, frozen breath of the cosmos. A reflection on the question that keeps astronomers, philosophers, and insomniacs awake under a silent sky. Where is everyone? And what does it mean when something finally answers? This is the third whisper.
The third whisper. For centuries we have stared into the inky black canvas above, in search of an answer to the most terrifying question of all. Where is everyone? This is the central dread of the Fermi paradox, named for the physicist Enrico Fermi. The logic is inescapable. If the universe is infinite and life should be common, then the galaxy should be teeming with civilizations. Their signals, their fleets, their immense projects should be obvious, but they're not. The void is silent. And this silence led to an even darker concept, the dark forest theory. The theory suggests that the reason for the silence is not a lack of life, but an excess of fear. Fear that the cosmos is a deadly place where every advanced civilization views every other as an existential threat. To announce your presence is to invite your own destruction. The only way to survive is to be silent, to hide, to become a stalker in the dark. The hunter, not the hunted. This is the psychological ground zero of our fear. We wait for a signal, hoping for a friend, but not knowing for sure if the silence is a warning. But what happens when the silence is broken? Not by a shout, but by a whisper. In 1977, the silence of the cosmos cracked for the very first time. Observing the heavens through the Big Ear radio telescope, astronomers received a 72-second blast of radio energy so intense, so narrow-banded, that it screamed of non-natural origin. The astronomer Jerry Ayman, reviewing the printout, scrawled a single word in the margin next to the data: wow. The wow signal was the first sign that maybe, just maybe, someone, or something other than us, was out there transmitting. Yet our potential folly had already begun. Around the same time we launched the Pioneer and Voyager probes, carrying golden records and plaques that revealed our exact location, our biology, and our technology level. We didn't just listen, we committed the ultimate catastrophic error of shouting our address into the dark forest, sending golden flares into the sky above our heads. The universe went quiet again after 1977, but our message was already filed away. The sense of being watched persisted. For those who dismiss the wow signal as just noise, there is a history of physical evidence that haunts our own orbital back garden. For decades, the story circulated about the Black Knight satellite, an unidentified, non-natural object orbiting Earth, far older than any human satellite. The ultimate expression of local paranoia that a dark sentinel had been circling our planet, silently watching for thousands of years. In the late 60s and early 70s, as the Apollo missions conquered the moon, the paranoia intensified. Theories around the Apollo tapes suggest the astronauts were never truly alone. Whispers, this time of non-human artifacts, and anonymous lights are woven into the reports of lunar exploration. As a wise man once said, moon's haunted. The moon, it is feared, is not an empty landscape, but an occupied territory that we briefly trespassed upon. The dread grew and moved outward Buzz Aldrin, the second man on the moon, later spoke with an unnerving calm about the strange monolithic structure found orbiting Mars's moon, Phobos. A perfect rectangle, a sentinel structure positioned in the Martian backyard. The terrifying question is not what it is, but who put that there? And in the deepest outer system, shrouded in mystery, is Saturn. Throughout human history, it has been a symbol of dark power. To some, the spectacular rings are not just ice and rock, but an artificial mask, a complex megastructure hiding colossal operations, too terrifying to view openly. Saturn, according to those theories, is the outer perimeter of a hidden empire. But the Watchers are not only out there, they are here, woven into the bureaucracy of Earth. And the question arises, are they hiding the truth? For every piece of strange imagery that reaches the public, dozens of questions are left unanswered. Why were certain NASA image feeds suddenly shut down during crucial moments of observation? Why do certain historical photos of the Moon and Mars vanish from official archives, only to resurface on conspiracy threads, allegedly showing structures that defy nature? The suspicion around forums dedicated to high strangeness, UFOs, UAPs et al., is the scientific community's reluctance to call the monolith a structure or the Black Knight a satellite is not caution, it is active, deliberate deception. Every time a satellite image of a controversial anomaly is scrubbed, every time an observation window is declared technical error, the message is clear: they are lying. But this censorship, this active covering of the truth, only serve to prepare us for the inevitable, because the deception only works when the objects are small, or local, or static. However, now the terrifying silence of the dark forest has truly been broken. Our flares were noticed. The quiet, automated observers of the dark, the systems we dedicated to spotting existential threats, flagged something new and statistically impossible. This added fuel to our initial concerns. Something was coming. First came Oumuamua in 2017. And for many, this was the moment science fiction became terrifying reality. Oumuamua was classified first as an asteroid, then a comet, then nothing that fit either category. Its geometry was Euclideanly out of place. Most asteroids and comets are rocky spheres or potato shapes, but based on its erratic brightness as it tumbled, Oumuamua was calculated to have an aspect ratio of at least 10:1, meaning it was 10 times longer than it was wide. A colossal reddish cigar or pancake, roughly the size of the Empire State Building, laid on its side. But the geometry was only the beginning of the horror. As it whipped around the sun and flew towards the outer darkness, it began to accelerate. Normally, comets speed up when the solar heat vaporizes their frozen water, shooting gas out like tiny natural thrusters. But space rocks shaped like torpedoes don't just handbrake turn around the sun, then speed off. The traditional physics of melting ice was rendered absurd. Scientists were forced to clamber for explanations. Exotic, unseen materials like pure hydrogen ice or nitrogen ice to account for the speed without the telltale smoke. The terror here is simple. The acceleration was real, yet the source of the acceleration was invisible. Then came 2I Borisov in 2019. It was different. It behaved more like a normal comet, complete with a tail. It was the first object they could definitively classify as an interstellar comet. But its chemical composition was utterly alien. It was releasing unusual amounts of carbon monoxide, suggesting it formed in a dark, cold environment around a different type of star, a red dwarf. our sun is not a red dwarf. The horror of Borisov was not its behaviour, but its pristine, alien composition. It was chemically confirming that a piece of someone else's solar system had crashed into ours. Two visitors, one defying physics and geometry, the other defying chemistry and origin. Together they established the new, unsettling rules of the dark forest. That every interstellar object we've seen so far is either a structural impossibility or a chemical alien, and given that we've been visited by two in 2 years, this is a big deal. And then came the third, something that made Oumuamua and Borisov look like mere scouts. And so we arrive at 3I Atlas. The object was massive. Estimates place it at over a kilometer wide. The trajectory suggests an origin deep within the cosmos. Not from a nearby star, but from the dense, chaotic heart of the galactic center. The mathematical probability that a kilometer-wide object from the far reaches of the galaxy could pass by our system in this specific, anomalous way, well, the math says this object simply cannot be here. But it is. It cannot be random. It's an impossible movement in a dark forest where movement is supposed to mean death. The chilling consensus across certain corners of the online community is simple. We are looking at alien architecture. However, the true terror is realizing this object may not be a ship, but a tool. Theories speculate it's a piece of raw material or an automated construction drone from a civilization so vast it's tearing down its own solar system to start building something unfathomably large. We are irrelevant dust to an industry that mines entire suns. It's an incomprehensibly large ball of fusion plasma screaming into the void. It's a derelict observation platform, a gigantic automated buoy left behind by a civilization long ago, still quietly, blindly scanning for signs of life. Or it's a ship. Whatever it may be, the data whispers that it feels sent. Now we need to return to the scientific defense. It's a necessary shield against the terrifying implications. The official conclusion remains: 3I Atlas is a natural comet, or perhaps a dark, dusty asteroid. The non-gravitational movement is attributed to outgassing. The statistical unlikelihood is explained away by the sheer, terrifying vastness of the universe. An even wiser man once said, "Space is big. You just won't believe how vastly, hugely, mind-bogglingly big it is." The astronomers, the astrophysicists, they insist on logic. They must insist on logic, because the moment they admit the science is wrong, the moment they admit the pattern is artificial, that the timing is deliberate, it's already too late. The silence of the scientific community on true, verifiable intelligence is not a denial of mystery. It's the sound of extreme, almost paralyzing caution. Caution says that the truth will cause panic. Caution screams that the truth will change our civilization forever. And they know that if something like 3I Atlas was created, those creators operate on a scale and with a purpose that we cannot possibly comprehend or compete against. What will happen with 3I Atlas? The most probable scenario is the most anticlimactic. It will pass. It will leave our solar system bound for the outer darkness once more, disappearing into the cold gravitational pull of the Milky Way. But it will have left an indelible scar on the human psyche. It confirms that our understanding of physics, statistics, and maybe even life itself is incomplete. The simple existence of these impossible objects shatters the illusion that we are alone in a quiet, predictable corner of the cosmos. Not just not alone, not even the smartest denizens of this dark forest we find ourselves in. Perhaps the great horror is not that Three-Eye Atlas is a weapon or a carrier of disease. Perhaps the ultimate terror is that it simply passed by to see what we're up to, as an answer to our Voyager broadcast. It reminds us that the black between the stars is not empty. It's merely reserved for something massive, ancient, and incomprehensible. And as Three-Eye Atlas fades into the void, we are left with the chilling potential that the great age of human discovery is over. The great age of quiet, desperate fear has only just begun.
You've just heard the third whisper, a reminder that silence is not safety, and distance is not protection. Out there, objects older than our species drift through the dark, some natural, some not so easily explained. If Three-Eye Atlas was only a visitor, then it is already gone. If it was a message, then we've already answered. And if it was something else entirely, well, some truths don't arrive as revelations, they arrive as consequences. Thank you again for listening to 818. Keep your eyes on the sky, keep your instruments warm, and above all, listen for the next whisper.
Whiskey, Oscar, Mike, Bravo, Alpha, Echo. 2. Banshee. Banshee holds a special place in my heart. A special place it can't hold, that is. I first set out for the Oumuamua when 19 years old, travelling in the Aran Islands. Didn't take long for me to hear the terrifying keening. It was a calling card, as it were. The Banshee scream, or its keen, is at once siren-like and repulsive, like the scent of rotting meat or vomit. It's most certainly a song, and its lyrics are immediately discernible. My notes contain the following couplet. If rest and comfort only is all thou desire, attend then upon me and caress the gold lyre. Tradition holds that the keening is a harbinger of death. This is not strictly true. It simply means that at midnight the wailing woman will present herself seeking your body for sustenance. She's strikingly beautiful, but gaunt woman, dressed in a pale white dress. She floats half a meter above the ground, does not appear to possess feet. Her skin is a strong white, and her eyes are milky and pupilless. She's not the most accomplished wrestler in bestiary. That honor belongs to the Minotaur, but she is no pushover. Her ability to levitate along with ear-splitting screams and powerful weapons. Be sure to bring a silver blade. It's the only substance which may pierce her skin. In order to lose too much body fluid, lifting the lid, place the blade in the box and cover both your eyes with either hand. You should hear shortly afterwards a loud, unnerving groaning, followed by a sharp exhale. Close the box. Bury it no less than 10 feet below the ground.